Have you ever stood in the quiet of your home after your cat has passed and felt as though something still lingers in the air? A presence soft and watchful like a whisper in the silence. The mystery of what happens to cats after they die has been asked for centuries, not only by grieving hearts, but also by those who long to understand the deeper design of creation. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, spoke of the spiritual truth that animals, cats especially, carry with them a spark of divine life that does not vanish when the body grows still. His words invite us into a space where science cannot reach, but where faith, memory, and sacred intuition meet. Cayce explained that animals exist within what he called the group soul, a vast spiritual current that binds them together. Unlike human beings who are born with an individual soul that holds memory and choice across lifetimes, cats share in a collective essence. Imagine a great fire from which every cat is a spark glowing with the same primal flame of instinct, awareness, and grace. This is why their behaviors often seem mysteriously universal, the way cats stretch toward the sun, the way they curl into hidden corners, the way they carry dignity even in silence. They are part of something larger, connected not only to each other, but also to the divine rhythm of creation itself. Yet Cayce revealed something extraordinary, and here lies the heart of the mystery. Love can shape the destiny of a cat's soul. When a cat and a human form, a bond that is more than survival, when trust and loyalty and tenderness grow, something begins to change. That spark of the group soul starts to separate, to step forward, to form a personality as distinct as a fingerprint. Love has the power to pull a cat closer to the human journey, to give it individuality, and, in some cases, to allow it to return. In this way, a cat may be more than an animal. It may become a spiritual companion, its essence remembered in eternity. Consider the story of a woman in her 70s who lived alone after her husband's passing. Her cat, Solomon, had been her shadow, sitting beside her as she prayed, curling in her lap during long winter evenings. When Solomon died, she wept as if another family member had been taken. Weeks later, she began to sense his presence. The familiar weight pressed upon her bed at night. The faint sound of purring echoed in her ears as she drifted toward sleep. Then, one spring morning, a stray appeared at her door. It had the same green eyes, the same odd habit of tapping the door frame before entering. For her, this was no coincidence. She believed the soul of her beloved cat had returned not only to comfort her loneliness, but also to remind her that God's love ensures nothing truly beloved is ever lost. What happens to cats after they die? Perhaps they return through signs that seem subtle yet undeniable. Perhaps they walk across the rainbow bridge, waiting for the moment when soul meets soul again in a place where time has no hold. Or perhaps they remain close, their essence brushing against our own, unseen but deeply felt. In every account, whether from Cayce's readings from the testimony of those who have mourned, or from the scriptures that remind us, God watches even the sparrow fall. The truth rings out. Love leaves an imprint on eternity. The symbolism is powerful. The group soul is the fire. Each cat is the spark. But when we pour love into one spark, it burns brighter, breaks free, and begins to glow as something uniquely its own. It is as if God himself has inscribed his signature on that soul through the medium of love. And when love writes its mark, the story is not erased by death. The essence of the cat, its companionship, its quiet lessons, its mysterious gaze continues beyond the veil. There is a quiet lesson hidden here. The grief we feel when a cat dies is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence of a sacred bond. To mourn is to acknowledge that what we shared was not temporary. It was wholly woven into the fabric of our spirit. And because it is holy, it does not end. We learn through loss that God's creation is not designed for endings, but for transformation. Death is not a closing of the door, but a shifting of presence, a new way of being together, unseen but real. For many, this truth opens a new perspective. Instead of asking, "Is my cat gone forever?" we can ask, "In what way is my cat still with me?" The answer may come in dreams, in sudden memories, in the arrival of a new companion whose habits feel strangely familiar. Or it may come in the deep silence of prayer when the soul recognizes what the heart already knows: love is stronger than death. As we carry this thought forward, the question widens. If the soul of a cat can be shaped and lifted by love, what does that say about our own journey? What role do these quiet companions play in our spiritual awakening? Do they arrive only to be cherished, or do they come to teach us something eternal about patience, humility, and devotion? Cayce suggested that animals, and cats in particular, are not here by accident. They are messengers, guides, sometimes even mirrors of our own souls. And so the mystery is not just about what happens to cats after they die, but what happens to us when we have loved them. Their departure becomes a test of faith, their memory, a vessel of healing, and their continued presence, whether seen or unseen, a sign that God's design is more mysterious and merciful than we imagine. As we leave this first chapter of the journey, keep this in your heart: when you have loved a cat, you have touched a spark of divine fire, and that flame cannot be extinguished. It will burn beside you in ways visible and invisible, and it may even find its way back into your arms when you need it most. In the next part, we will go deeper into the signs and reunions. Those uncanny moments when cats return, either through dreams, through life itself, or through the sacred echoes that remind us nothing truly loved is ever lost. When a cat leaves this world, the silence it leaves behind feels immense, yet for many that silence is not empty. It is charged with signs, subtle sacred echoes that suggest the bond has not been broken. Edgar Cayce often spoke of this spiritual bond as a thread that stretches across lifetimes, a current of love strong enough to guide souls back together. For those who are attentive, the signs are not coincidences. They are whispers from the divine, reminders that love itself is eternal. One of the most common experiences shared by grieving cat owners is the sense that their pet has never truly left. The faint pressure of paws upon a bed, the brush of fur against the skin when no cat is there, or the sudden sound of purring in the quiet of night, these are not merely tricks of memory. Cayce suggested they are glimpses into a reality where the soul still lingers near, seeking to comfort the heart that once cared for it. Such after-death signs are often dismissed by skeptics, yet countless testimonies affirm them. A woman from Ohio spoke of losing her beloved cat, Gabriel. For weeks afterward, she dreamed of him not in vague symbols, but in vivid detail. His eyes, his particular meow, even the warmth of his body. Each time she awoke, her grief softened, as though God had allowed those dreams to become bridges of healing. There are also moments of reunion in the living world when a cat seems to return in a new body. Cayce was asked directly if pets could reincarnate with their owners, and his answer was clear: yes, when the bond of love is strong enough. He described love as a force that individualizes the animal soul, giving it a unique identity that can find its way back. Many people tell stories of adopting a new kitten or cat only to discover uncanny similarities with the one they lost. A familiar habit, a favorite resting place, or a gaze that pierces straight into memory. Science may call it projection, yet Cayce would call it the mystery of the soul at work. The American imagination has long been touched by the idea of the Rainbow Bridge, a place where pets wait for their humans, whole and joyful, until they are reunited in eternity. Though Cayce did not use this image, his words harmonize with it. He taught that the love we share with our cats leaves an imprint upon their essence, guiding them either to wait for us in spiritual realms or to return to us here on earth. In both cases, reunion is not a fanciful wish, but a spiritual possibility woven into the design of God's creation. Modern voices add further testimony. Animal communicators. People who claim to sense or speak with pets who have passed often relay messages of peace, forgiveness, and undying loyalty. While skeptics raise their doubts, many grieving owners find comfort in these sessions, feeling as if their cats are reminding them of lessons learned together. Patience, kindness, unconditional love. Even in moments of doubt, the relief that comes from believing one is still connected to a beloved pet speaks to the power of faith itself. Interestingly, accounts of near-death experiences often include animals. Some who briefly cross the threshold between life and death report seeing their cats waiting for them, radiating joy and recognition. These visions suggest that animals, like humans, take part in the great mystery of life after death. their souls drawn not into nothingness but into light. For those who have felt their cat brush against them in a dream or appear in the liminal space between worlds, these stories affirm that such encounters are not accidents. They are divine consolation signs that nothing truly loved is ever lost. The question remains, why do some experience these signs while others do not? Psychology might explain it as the mind clinging to memory. Yet from a spiritual perspective, these signs are gifts, chosen moments where the veil grows thin, allowing love to cross. In prayer or meditation, many have found these connections grow stronger, as if inviting God's presence also invites the presence of the beloved cat. This interplay between memory, faith, and divine mystery reflects a larger truth. Cayce emphasized, "The bond of love does not belong to the material world alone. It is written into the eternal fabric of the soul." The small lesson here is profound to pay attention. Too often we dismiss the gentle nudges of the spirit, the flicker of movement in an empty room. The sudden memory that stirs tears the dream so real it feels like a visitation. To dismiss them is to close the door to comfort. To embrace them is to let love continue its work of healing. Signs are not about superstition. They are about recognition, about understanding that God allows the soul of a cat to reassure us, to remind us that our journeys are still entwined. This opens a new perspective. Instead of thinking of loss as a final severing, we can think of it as a transformation of a relationship. The cat no longer walks the floor of the home, but it walks the floor of the spirit, showing itself through symbols, sensations, and sacred echoes. And sometimes it may even choose to return in flesh, to curl once more in our arms. As we carry this thought forward, the mystery deepens. If cats can return, if they can send signs, if they can wait for us across the veil, then what role do they play in the great journey of our souls? What lessons are they sent to teach, and how do they walk beside us toward the divine? In the next part, we will explore this deeper truth, how cats, through their presence in our lives, and even in their passing, become teachers of the soul, guiding us closer to God's eternal light. When we look into the eyes of a cat, we are often struck by something that feels larger than the moment. Their gaze is steady, ancient, almost knowing. Edgar Cayce described animals not as accidents of nature, but as participants in the unfolding story of the soul. Cats, in particular, carry an aura of mystery that makes us wonder if they have been placed beside us for reasons we cannot always see. What happens to cats after they die is part of a greater question. How do our souls and theirs walk together toward the divine? Cayce taught that while humans carry individual souls shaped by memory and choice, cats begin their existence in what he called the group soul, a vast field of shared spiritual essence. But love, he said, has the power to call a spark out of that collective fire. When we treat a cat not only as an animal, but as a companion, when we share loyalty, trust, and care, we help carve individuality into its essence. That process is not one-sided. As the cat's soul grows more distinct, ours is refined as well. The relationship becomes a circle of transformation, human and cat shaping each other in ways both subtle and profound. Consider the story of a veteran returning from war, tormented by nightmares and unable to find peace. He spoke of a stray cat that began appearing on his porch day after day until he opened the door and let it in. That cat would curl against his chest during sleepless nights, grounding him when his spirit wandered through memories of loss. Over time, he said, the nightmares grew less sharp. He believed the cat had been sent as a teacher, a guide clothed in fur to draw him back toward trust and gentleness. To him, this was not a mere coincidence. It was a divine intervention. Sacred reminder that God's mercy often arrives in the most unexpected forms. From a spiritual perspective, these encounters are not random. In Christianity, Scripture tells us that God notices even the sparrow that falls. If He cares for the smallest bird, how much more does He weave meaning into the lives of the cats who share our homes? In Buddhist thought, the meeting between human and animal may be karmic, a reunion of souls who agreed long before birth to walk together for healing. In mystical traditions, cats are seen as guardians of thresholds, beings who move with ease between the visible and invisible realms. Each view differs in language, yet all point to the same truth. The connection is not ordinary. It is sacred. The lesson hidden here is that our treatment of cats and of animals as a whole is also part of our own evolution. Every act of compassion draws us closer to the image of God within us. Every moment of tenderness helps lift the animal's soul toward individuation while humbling us into greater love. When you cradle a cat in your arms, you are not only soothing it, you are participating in a spiritual exchange shaping both of your destinies. The loyalty of a cat who chooses you, the patience of one who sits by your side in silence, the healing power of its steady purr. These are not trivial comforts. They are lessons written into the fabric of the soul. Cayce even hinted that some animals, when loved deeply, may evolve beyond the group's soul, stepping toward a higher destiny in the grand ladder of creation. Though he never said they would become human, he suggested they may rise closer to the divine current, carrying with them the individuality carved by love. This perspective invites us to see our cats differently, not merely as pets, but as co-travelers in the spiritual awakening of humanity. Think of the countless women and men who testify that a cat has saved them from despair. The widow felt her late husband's presence through the gentle companionship of her cat. The child who learned to trust again through a rescued kitten. These stories are more than sentimental. They are mirrors reflecting the deeper truth that God works through all of creation to bring comfort, healing, and awakening. So what happens to cats after they die is inseparable from what happens to us as we live and grow. Their souls and ours are woven together, teaching and shaping one another. When we love, they rise. When they comfort, we heal. This shared journey is not about endings, but about transformation, not about absence, but about presence in new forms. It is the mystery of the soul's path, where even paw prints can become divine markers, pointing us closer to God. And so I leave you with this invitation. Pause for a moment and think of the cats who have touched your life. Ask yourself, what have they taught you about patience, trust, or unconditional love? Could it be that their mission was never simply to be your pet, but to be your spiritual companion if their essence lingers still? What might it be whispering to your soul today? These are questions worth carrying into prayer, into reflection, into the quiet of your heart. If you feel these words resonate, if you have sensed the spiritual truth in the bond you shared with your cat, allow that truth to guide you. And if you wish to continue exploring these sacred mysteries about cats, spirituality, and the hidden messages of the soul, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join me for the journeys ahead. Together, we will keep uncovering the signs, the miracles, and the divine connections that remind us nothing truly loved is ever lost.